Catherine, explain this to me. The parents involved. The parents always seem to be not. I mean, I understand some of this happens behind parents' back, but they appear to be intimately involved lots of times. As a parent, why would you want that for your child?
Well, I think that a lot of times parents really want to be more of a friend than a parent. And they're thinking of what can I do right now to make my kid feel better? And that, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions, right? And their intentions are good in that moment because, of course, you want your kid to be happy and to feel good. But a lot of times we're not thinking about the long-term consequences. We've heard horror stories of, kids who decide to transition, as a child or as an adolescent and completely regretting it and wanting to detransition later as an adult. And then how do you feel about what your parent, allowed you to go through? There's a reason, for example, that the drinking age is 21, and that has to do with adolescent brain development. There's a reason that parents are in charge of most medical decision making for their kids because kids just lack the capacity to make well thought out decisions that involve a lot of forethought. And we really need to be talking with parents about what the consequences are going to look like long term.
Okay, speaking of long term, our COVID response was insane. It was easy to see how this was going to hurt kids. And now we have all these studies, new one just came out from Florida State. It's crushing kids, crushing them.
It's horrible. I mean, this was predictable, therefore it was preventable. And I've been speaking out about it since COVID first started. That there's a huge problem. When we took kids out of schools, when we took them, away from their friends and social learning abilities, there's a huge issue. And what we've seen too is that it's impacted their reading comprehension, their verbal capabilities, their ability to socialize and have good social skills with their friends. And this is going to have long-term consequences. We're going to see that as the years go on, that they have difficulty with, testing in school, difficulty making friends as they enter the workplace. What's this going to look like as far as their ability to prepare for job interviews and to interact with supervisors and colleagues, to deal with, just minor conflict in the workplace. And we're going to see this for years to come.
School shootings. What's the psychology of school shootings? Why is this happening?
It's difficult. I don't know that there's a good answer for why we continue to see school shootings. I think that over time, we've seen a desensitization towards violence as a culture. Go ahead and take a look at a movie that was rated R back in the 1970s. Let's say The Godfather, for example. You'll see The Godfather now on like a family channel. And it's not because the movie has changed at all. It's because as a society, we've changed and we've continued to allow violence as a norm into our culture. And we see it in the movies, we see it in video games. Kids are subject to witnessing violence in all sorts of different mediums at a young age. They learn that it's an effective way to solve problems. So we have that. There's certainly a contagion effect when it comes to school shootings. We know this based on research after Columbine, for example, that a lot of times school shooters, for example, will try to compare themselves to the Columbine shooters. They'll research them. They'll read manifestos of other school shooters. Oftentimes, they'll have the goal of having a higher body count. And it's a way for them to make a name for themselves. And we also have a culture where we don't tell people no. And what happens when kids don't hear no growing up is that eventually they will. And they start to build this perceived injustice that people are actually against them rather than that this is a normal thing in society.
Don't miss Jesse Kelly Breaks History, The Forgotten Genocide, the first episode of a new series available now exclusively for First TV supporters. Visit the First TV app or thefirsttv.com to subscribe and start watching today.